When my son gave his mom a BMW, I got the brutal truth that haunts me today. The sun had barely risen on that fateful day, casting eerie shadows across our small town. Whispers of disbelief cascaded through the streets as I clutched the crumpled few dollars in my pocket. $3 just enough for a cheap coffee that wouldn't swallow this bitter reality. My son, a boy not yet a man, pulled into the driveway in a gleaming BMW, the kind of car that turned heads and silenced rooms. It was polished to perfection, its sleek silver body reflecting a brightness that seemed almost otherworldly. This wasn't just a gift, it was an audacious challenge, a twist of fate that set my heart racing and my mind reeling. The neighborhood buzzed with curious onlookers, their expressions a mix of envy and confusion. Did he steal it? Did he win the lottery? How could my boy, who still wore his old sneakers to school, afford something like that? The questions hovered in the air like thick fog, each one a whisper that gnawed at my insides. It felt like a scene from a movie, the kind where secrets unravel and truths scream to be heard. As he stepped out of the car, the aura around him shifted. The boy I knew was gone, replaced by a competent stranger with a glimmer in his eye that screamed danger. He flashed a smile, but something dark lingered beneath it, a flicker of guilt perhaps? I couldn't shake off the feeling that he was hiding something monumental, and the air around us thickened with unspoken tension. My heartbeat drummed loudly in my ears, drowning out the murmurs of neighbors speculating behind closed doors. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I looked at my son again, his hands resting casually on the hood of that luxury vehicle. There was an unsettling calm about him, like he had just unleashed something huge into our lives, and he knew it. I wanted to shout, to demand answers, but all I could do was stand there, paralyzed by a mix of fear and confusion. What had he done? Was this a gift, or a curse wrapped in glossy paper? I could feel the weight of the world crashing down on me as I realized this was only the beginning. A shiver ran down my spine. Just then, an ominous crow cawed from above, echoing my unspeakable dread. Had my son made a deal with the devil? The truth loomed larger than the shiny BMW, and I had to know what lay beneath that polished surface. The way he looked at the car, it was as if he believed it could take him anywhere, but where exactly would it lead him? I could hardly breathe as I watched my son lean against the BMW, that confident smirk plastered on his face. It was as though he was reveling in the chaos he had created, soaking in the astonishment of our neighbors. Each second stretched endlessly, filled with unasked questions that burned behind my lips. What could possibly make a kid his age act like this, and at what cost? Where did you get this? The words finally burst out, raw and shaky. A primal fear clawed at my insides, tightening like a vice. His smile faltered for a heartbeat, just long enough for me to notice. I earned it, he said, but the way he looked away told me his answer was wrapped in layers of deception. Heard it was expensive for a part-time job, I pressed, my voice half-whispered, unwilling to reveal my mounting panic. Laughter escaped his lips, sharp and cutting. Dad, you don't get it. I didn't just work for it. Every beat of my heart thudded heavily in my chest. The murmurs around me grew louder, intertwining with the sickening whirlpool of my thoughts. My neighbors had their phones out now, documenting this bizarre revelation. Then what? Are you dealing drugs or something? I spat, the words tasting bitter and foreign. He straightened up, his expression darkening into something I barely recognized. You don't want to know. Suddenly, my stomach churned, a gut feeling that wouldn't let me rest. As if on cue, clouds began to gather overhead, their shadows casting a veil over the bright day. An unsettling chill ran through me while I struggled to digest the possibility that my son was tangled up in something dangerous, something that could ruin everything I had worked to build. Tell me. I insisted, desperation clawing at my throat. Whatever it is, just be honest. He took a step back, eyes gauging my reaction. It's not just about the car, Dad. It's bigger than that. I made a choice, and now, I can't go back. A tense silence fell, broken only by the distant sound of thunder rolling through the sky. I was left grappling with his cryptic admission. What choices had he made, and how deep did this rabbit hole go? The crowd around us seemed to lean in, hanging on to every word, sensing the electric charge in the air. I saw the envy, the curiosity, the judgment in their eyes. They liked to believe they knew the story behind that car, but they had no clue about the damage it could cause. Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows at the edge of the driveway, a man, tall and imposing. He scanned the scene, his piercing gaze landing on my son, and a flicker of recognition crossed his face. "Is this your new toy, kid?" the man asked, his tone smooth, almost mocking. A knot formed in my stomach. Who was this stranger? My son stiffened, the confidence draining from him like air from a balloon. I could see it in his eyes, the fear he had been trying to hide. "What have you gotten into?" I whispered, feeling helpless as the walls seemed to close in. If this man was here, it meant my son was involved in something so much darker than I could ever imagine. What trap had my boy walked into? And just like that, the reality of our situation clawed at my every thought. As thunder rumbled ominously above, the man stepped closer, a predatory smile creeping on his lips. "Time to pay the piper," he said softly, his voice laced with menace. What had my son done to invite this danger? I needed answers before it was too late. The air crackled between us, charged with tension that made it hard to breathe. I felt like I was on the edge of a cliff, staring into a void I couldn't comprehend. My son's face twisted with confusion and fear, reflections of emotions I'd never seen before. It was like standing at the precipice of a dark secret, yet I could hardly see the depth below. "What do you mean?" I asked again, more insistently this time. "What are you hiding?" The stranger, that imposing man with his cold smile, took another step forward, invading our space. I could feel the audience's breath hitching, anticipation heavy in the air, as if we were all holding our collective breath. The gathering storm clouds loomed overhead, mirroring my mounting dread. The man turned his attention back to me, and the look in his eyes sent a shiver down my spine. "He's made arrangements, deals, if you will. Things best left unsaid." "Nobody wants to hear about that, do they?" my son interrupted, a sharp edge to his voice. "But you had to bring it up." The man chuckled, a cold sound that made my stomach turn. "Relax, kid. Just doing some educating here. You live in a world where power speaks volumes, and the rest are just pawns." "What kind of power are you talking about?" I shouted, frustration bleeding into my voice. The uncertainty gnawed at me, sharper than any knife. "It seems your son thinks he's invincible," the man said, his voice dripping with disdain. "He doesn't realize the game he's playing. Or maybe he does." That revelation hit me hard. My heart raced, and anger bubbled beneath the surface. Not my son. He couldn't have. I turned to him, desperation bubbling to the surface. "What have you done, really?" His gaze dropped. "It's not like that, Dad. I needed the money." "Needed? For what?" I demanded, shaking my head. "What could possibly justify this? A car isn't worth this kind of risk." The man straightened, a gleam of amusement flickering in his eyes. "Oh, but it is if you know how to play it right. You see, he's thinking big, investing. And trust me, the stakes are higher than you can imagine." With a sudden bolt of clarity, the pieces began to fit together like a grotesque jigsaw puzzle. My son wasn't just in over his head, he was drowning in a world I didn't recognize. A world filled with whispers of danger, corruption, and desperation. I couldn't just stand there, frozen. Not when the life I envisioned for him was slipping away like sand through my fingers. "Well," the man said, tilting his head. "Life is full of hard choices. You just have to decide what you're willing to lose." Suddenly, the clouds broke open, rain pouring down, heavy and unrelenting. It drummed against the pavement, drowning out the murmur of the crowd. People instinctively ducked for cover, leaving just the three of us standing in the storm, me, my son, and the embodiment of chaos itself. "Let us go inside, Dad," my son said, his voice barely above the roar of the rain, desperation etched across his features. Before I could respond, the man reached out, gripping my son's shoulder as if claiming him. "You may want to think about this carefully, kid. Trust is a dangerous game." An unsettling dread settled in my chest. The weight of my son's choices loomed larger than ever, and it struck me, this was just the beginning of a different fight. "Enough!" I finally shouted, raising my voice against the storm. "You're not taking my son anywhere." As thunder erupted overhead, the man's smile vanished, replaced by something more sinister. "We'll see about that." I knew from that moment that I had to protect him. But how? What battle awaited us in the storm ahead? And as the rain poured harder, the chilling realization hit me: this might be a war against forces I couldn't comprehend, and the first shot had just been fired. The wind howled fiercely, weaving through the rain-soaked air, mixing with the thundering chaos around us. I felt every drop hit my skin, cold and stark, just like the reality crashing down upon me. It wasn't just the storm outside, it was the storm brewing within my family. My son's eyes darted between me and the man, each blink flickering with the weight of choices unmade. A tempest of emotions racked his face, pleading, defiance, fear, all congealed into a single well of desperation. "Dad, please." But the stranger tightened his grip on my son, a predator with its prey, and I could almost see the shadows of manipulation creeping in. "Let us not make this harder than it needs to be," the man said, his voice dripping with an unsettling calm. "You came here to have a good time, didn't you?" I couldn't shake the feeling that he was enjoying this, enjoying his power over us, flicking his fingers like we were mere puppets in his twisted play. "What do you want?" I demanded, my heart thundering. I could feel the crowd moving away, whispering among themselves about the tension pooling thick in the air. I was losing control. He leaned in, a smirk twisting his lips, his breath coming in a mix of whiskey and malice. It's not about what I want," he said, lazily glancing sideways, gauging my son's reaction. "It's really about what he's willing to give." I stepped forward, heart racing. "Stop it. My son has nothing to give you. You're using him." For a moment, the man seemed surprised, taken aback, like I had punched him in the gut. Then there was a flash of darkness in his eyes, and he leaned closer to my son. "Is that true? Tell me you want to be free, kid. All it takes is a little sacrifice." My son bit down on his lip, his brows knotted together in uncertainty. I could see the top of his hands shaking, and that familiar knot of dread twisted deep in my stomach. It's not like that," he stammered, voice quaking. I wanted to fix things." "Fix?" I echoed, panic etching into my voice. "What exactly are you trying to fix, and at what cost?" The stranger chuckled darkly, eyes gleaming with delight as he stepped back, savoring the tension. "You see, this game isn't just for the desperate. It's for the ambitious. Your son is just starting to uncover a world of power, but it comes with a price." With each word, I felt the ground shifting beneath my feet. I glanced toward the crowd, people watching us, faces reflecting a range of emotions from shock to pity. I was supposed to be his protector, but here I was, a mere spectator in my son's impending disaster. "Get away from him!" I shouted, my voice barely piercing through the storm. "Or what?" the man taunted, leaning back against the column of the building, crossing his arms. "You really think you can shield him from reality? From ambition?" It was true. Deep down, I knew I couldn't fix this alone. My son was spiraling into an abyss, and I could either tether him back or watch him fall. Could I actually save him from whatever wicked plans this man had? I felt wretched, grappling with the fear that my quiet life was crumbling into dust before my eyes. The flicker of movement caught my attention from the corner of my eye, someone stepping forward from the crowd, a dark silhouette barely visible in the downpour. It was a woman with an air of confidence, her features obscured by shadows, but there was an intensity that captivated everyone's gaze. "What's going on here?" she called out, raising her voice against the storm. The man turned, surprised, his amusement faltering as he shifted his focus. And at that moment, I realized this encounter was no longer just about my son or me, it was about the deceitful path we were all caught on. The weight of choice hung thick in the air. I looked back at my son, desperation flooding my mind. Was there still hope for us? As the rain lashed harder, the tension thickened, and I understood the stakes were about to get much higher. What secrets lay in the shadows, and who was this mysterious stranger who had just walked into our storm? I needed answers. Before it was too late. Her voice cut through the storm like a knife. The crowd hushed, and in that moment, everything froze except for the rain, hammering down around us. The stranger's expression shifted from amusement to irritation, as if she had just spoiled his little game. He frowned, muscles tensing under his soaked jacket, clearly weighing his options. "You shouldn't have come," he said slowly, almost menacingly. His fingers tightened around my son's arm. The flicker of uncertainty in my son's eyes was evident. Would he let himself be pulled into this dark abyss, or would he fight back? The woman moved closer. Not backing down. What kind of man threatens a child? Her tone dripped with disdain, her eyes locked on the stranger as if she could pierce through his soul. "Someone who knows the value of sacrifices," he replied, a cold smile creeping across his face again. "Trust me, lady, you don't know what you're stepping into." I could feel my heart thudding in my chest, pounding against my ribs like a caged animal desperate for escape. Beneath the cold rain, fear coiled in my gut. "Don't let him get in your head," the woman urged, a surge of confidence underpinning her words. "You're stronger than this." "Mom." My son's voice cracked, fear spilling over. "What are you doing here?" It was a plea wrapped in shock, a fragile thread weaving between panic and hope. "I'm here for you. We'll figure this out together," she shouted, her voice unwavering against the storm's roar. The stranger narrowed his eyes, clearly annoyed at this unexpected intervention. "See, kid? This is what I mean about the world outside this nice, safe bubble you live in. It's full of people who think they can save you without ever understanding what you really want." "Shut up!" I yelled, stepping forward, pushing thoughts of consequences to the back of my mind. The crowd felt like a suffocating blanket around us, watching, waiting. "Think, son," I pleaded, my voice raw with emotion. "You don't want this. Sacrifice isn't the answer. It never is." "Or maybe it is," the stranger mused, an unsettling grin breaking like a storm cloud. "How far would your mother go to protect you? What if what she offers isn't enough?" "What do you mean?" I demanded, feeling a chill race down my spine. "She might not have what it takes to save you, boy. But I do." My son's face was a whirlwind of conflict. Desperation flickered in his eyes. I wanted him to see, truly see, that this man wasn't an ally, he was a manipulator. But doubts crept into my mind. Could I be wrong? Was there something beneath my son's struggle that I was missing? "Listen to her," I shouted again, desperation clawing at my throat. "You don't have to listen to him. You can walk away." Before my son could respond, the woman took a step closer, her confidence surging like an electric current. "You have power within you, and that doesn't come from making deals with the devil." The silence was deafening. The stranger's smile fell away as he weighed the truth spinning in the air. "Too bad, lady. You don't get to dictate the terms of this game. Neither do you." She shot back, and for a brief moment, I felt the tide shifting like the storm clouds above us might finally disperse. Then, the laughter broke the tension. Harsh and mocking, the man trained his eyes on her, a predator crouching before its prey. "You think this is a game? You don't even know the half of it." But just as the veil lifted, tension snapped. The woman raised her chin defiantly. "Then enlighten us." I felt the ground beneath me shift, just as this unexpected turn intensified the whirlwind around us. The storm was not just a backdrop, it was the embodiment of the chaos unfolding not only in the torrential downpour but also within our very souls. What details was he hiding? What layers of deception lay in wait? Was freedom just another snare in disguise? And as thunder rumbled ominously overhead, I knew we were teetering on the edge of a deeper darkness. Would we stand together, or would we be consumed? I could feel the eerie anticipation hanging like the tense silence after a clap of thunder. The storm had unveiled a prophecy of choices yet to be made. What choices would we make when faced with the truth? The laughter echoed in the chaotic air, twisting around us like the storm itself. It felt as if the world had held its breath, waiting for the next move. My son's gaze darted between us, a whirlwind of confusion and fear painted on his young face. The woman, fierce and steadfast, stood like an unwavering lighthouse amidst the tempest, but I could see the chinks in her armor. Even she couldn't chase away the shadows clawing at our reality. "You have no idea what you're getting into," the stranger said, his voice low and sinister, a promise of calamity draped over every word. "Not all sacrifices are visible, and not all choices lead to salvation." Suddenly, a crack of lightning split the sky, illuminating his silhouette briefly, casting an eerie shadow over my son. I felt a chill run through me that had nothing to do with the downpour. Every cell in my body screamed for me to protect him, to pull him to safety while slapping the taste of danger from this man's lips. Sacrifices can be traded in the dark. The stranger leaned in, his breath visible in the cold air. How much is a mother's love worth when it's put to the test? He wasn't just playing games, he was toying with our very fears. I could feel the crowd's unease swell, whispers cloaking the tension like fog. They could sense something dreadful brewing, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were all mere pawns in his twisted plot, a spectacle wrapped in the guise of free will. "Stop it!" I shouted, stepping forward again, consumed by a primal need to shield my son. "You want to use him. He's not your plaything." "Oh, but he is," he sneered, spinning my plea with a grin that chilled my bones. "He's the key, isn't he? To what you both want, to what you claim is freedom. But freedom has a price, and I accept all forms of payment." My heart raced as I felt the knot grow tighter in my chest. I needed my son to see the truth but also understood how thick the fog of confusion was drifting around him. Did he grasp the heavy cost of the choices being thrown at him? "Mom." His voice, strained and frantic, cut through the whispering crowd. "What are you going to do?" I searched his eyes, pleading for a glimpse of resolve. "We're going to fight. Together. You and I said, forcing my voice to be steady. "We don't need him. We don't need anyone who hides in the shadows." The anger swirling in the stranger's demeanor deepened, pouring over us like the rain. "Fighting? Indulging in naive hope? It won't shield you from reality. You've only seen the surface, you haven't dug deeper. And believe me, it's a lot darker than you think." As he spoke, the ground trembled beneath our feet, mirroring the storm above. Was it the rumble of thunder or the weight of his words? Chaos swirled, and I felt the defined line between fight and surrender blur. "Do you understand now?" he asked, his voice low and seductive. "You're already too late, and your mother can't save you from what you've been summoned for. Everyone in this crowd knows. They're just waiting for the moment you accept the truth." "No." My son shouted defiantly, pulling his arm from the stranger's grip, taking a step back towards her, back towards the hope she offered. "You don't understand, we're not afraid of you." The laughter erupted again, a harsh echo of disbelief. "Such bravery," he taunted. "But I wonder how long will it last when the storm really breaks?" With a final, sweeping glance at the crowd, I knew they were hoping, just like us. But hope twisted like a knife in these trust-filled hearts. What did they believe would happen next? What price would we pay for this battle of wills? Before I could voice my rising fear, the ground shifted dangerously beneath our feet, and palpable energy filled the air like static. Would we face the impending storm together, or would our resolve shatter under the weight of looming darkness? And then, as I searched his face for a flicker of courage, I felt the storm unleash its fury, forcing our choices into the spotlight. Now let us see what values you really hold, the stranger whispered, and as we braced ourselves for the worst, the chaos around us spun just a little tighter. Was freedom merely an illusion we chased, or was it the cruelest snare of them all? The ground rolled violently as the stranger's smile warped, revealing a predatory edge. The crowd, once a sea of blurred faces, came sharply into focus, their expressions a mix of anticipation and dread. Whispered conversations began to swell like tides, each murmur a testament to the uncertainty gnawing at the souls around us. "Mom," my son cried out, the tremor in his voice pulling me back from my spiraling thoughts. The sky erupted again, and another flash blinded us momentarily, redecorating the fear etched on my son's face with a blue-white hue. "Stay close to me," I warned, instinctively wrapping my arms around him as if the squeeze could make the storm retreat. The stranger laughed, his eyes glinting like shards of glass caught in the lightning. "Protective instincts, how quaint. But tell me, what use is protection when life's true horrors lie hidden in plain sight?" He stepped closer, beckoning with a crooked finger as if reaching into the fuzzy recesses of my mind. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to maintain a grip on my composure. "You think you can manipulate our fears, have us dancing in your twisted puppet show? You're wrong." My voice echoed throughout the chaos, a desperate rallying cry clashing against the crackling fury of the night. Yet, doubt crept in. What if I couldn't shield my son from whatever darkness awaited? The shadows had grown deeper, curling around us like chain links, and I could sense the crowd's morbid fixation on our confrontation. They were participants in this grotesque theater, and their fear pressed heavy against me. "Watch closely, everyone, observe the great divide," the stranger taunted, spreading his arms wide, inviting everyone to bear witness. "In the end, it is always a matter of choice. The brave or the broken. Which will you be?" My son squeezed my hand tighter, desperation emanating from his small frame. "We will be the brave one," he yelled, vulnerability and bravery intertwining in his voice. The stranger tilted his head, amusement painted across his features like a mask. "Bravery, what a fleeting sentiment it is." He waved his hands dramatically, and it was as if the air itself shifted, thrumming with an energy both unsettling and intoxicating. Behind him, shadows began to warp into figures. I could see them, dark shapes warping, twisting, as if clawing for a way out. "What's happening?" My heart raced, panic dancing in my veins as I pulled my son closer. Each breath grew heavier, saturated with tension. "Your son has such spirit," he exclaimed, eyes sparkling with sadistic glee. "But an indomitable spirit often leads to misguided choices. Tell me, how far are you willing to go to protect what's yours?" My pulse quickened, a surge of adrenaline coursing through me. "I will do anything," I shouted, the words bursting forth like a challenge. "Anything?" he echoed, savoring the purchase of my declaration. "Then let us test that resolve." Without warning, the ground beneath us cracked open in a violent split. A chilling wind rushed through, wrapping itself around us like an icy serpent, the crowd gasping, recoiling in horror. Above, the storm raged, an orchestra of thunder crashing as chaos blossomed. "Face the reality of your choices," he yelled, and suddenly, chaos erupted. Shadows leaped forth, swirling around us, each one a whisper of ancient fears and buried regrets. "Mom!" my son cried again, panic erupting in his voice, but I would not falter. "Not now. Trust me." I felt the weight of his gaze, the fierce determination flickering behind his dread. We needed to stand side by side, to trust in our bond, the only shield we had against the consuming darkness. But could our love withstand the test? Would we survive the storm, or would we be swallowed whole by the nightmares that clawed at our souls? As the shadows closed in, I braced myself for the confrontation, the recognition dawning that the night was just beginning. What would the storm reveal about us, and would our choices save us or destroy us? The shadows surged, forming grotesque shapes that twisted and held, evoking the darkest recesses of my mind. Each figure seemed familiar, resembling fragments of past regrets and mistakes, growing tangible in their threat. The air thickened with dread, the crowd's murmurs blending into a cacophony of anxiety, each sound amplifying our collective fear. Hold on to me. I urged my son, feeling his tiny hand trembling in mine. That grip was our only lifeline in this nightmare. Above us, the sky continued its relentless storm, punctuating the thrill of impending doom. Each clap of thunder reverberated like a heartbeat, echoing the pace of terror in my chest. The stranger's laughter echoed around us, rich and mocking. "You'll soon learn the cost of your resolve," he taunted, each word seeping into my bones. "What will you sacrifice to keep your bond unbroken? What do you want from us?" I spat, frustration flaring within me, a flicker of anger igniting my fear. I had to divert his focus, to protect my son at all costs. He stepped forward, shadows cloaking him like a shroud, making him seem larger than life. But isn't that the core of it all? A mother's love is both a shield and a chain. Will you maintain your bravery when faced with the unthinkable? Before I could form a response, the ground shifted violently again, the crack widening. The figures of shadow lunged toward us, their forms now snarling faces, mouths agape, gnashing at the air like wolves starving for their prey. I could feel their icy breath on my skin, washing over me like a wave of despair. "Mom. Please, make it stop." My son whimpered, his voice breaking like glass, urging me to act. "Stand back," I shouted, summoning every ounce of strength. In that moment, I realized the only choice was to face these manifestations together. I could not allow him to bear this alone, not today, not ever. With intense concentration, I reached deep within myself. My love for him blazed, igniting every painful memory, every ounce of sorrow I had ever felt. "Your fears don't own us," I screamed. "You can't take us away." The shadows recoiled momentarily, a split second of hesitation, their confidence wavering in the face of our unity. I felt warmth flood through me despite the chaos. It was a brief glimmer of hope, one I needed to cling to. "Fight them," I urged my son, the words tumbling out of my mouth like a raw chant. "You're brave, and together we can be stronger than our past." Encouraged, he took a step forward, his small stature no less intimidating against the encroaching dark. "Leave us alone." He followed, voice stronger this time, trembling but fierce, but the stranger's laughter cut through the air, dimming our spark. "You think mere words can shield you? How quaint. Let us see what horrors lie in wait if I turn your hearts against each other." A sudden wind howled as the shadows darted toward my son, aiming for the very core of his spirit. Panic flooded my veins again, dread clawing relentlessly. I sprang into action, forcing the shadows' grasp away from my boy. But as I maneuvered, I saw it, seeds of doubt planting themselves in my son's eyes, the darkness threatening to bloom in his heart. Would the storm make him question our love? Would he ever trust me again if I failed to protect him now? A new jab of fear pierced through me as I realized the stakes of this struggle were more than just our lives. They were our souls. In that dramatic moment, I had a choice to make, to embrace the hope blooming amidst despair or to succumb to the terror consuming us. The shadows screeched, urging me into the dark depths of their manipulation. I could feel their fingers curling around my heart, ready to twist it into despair. Would I break, or could I ignite a light strong enough to drive them back? I stood firm, holding my son's gaze. The storm pounded relentlessly above while I prepared to launch my final stand. But just as our resolve gathered strength, the earth quaked again, hinting at a revelation that would shatter everything we believed. What would it reveal, and would we even survive its brutal truth? The ground trembled beneath us, and I realized the shadows were merging into something more significant, a dark wave threatening to engulf us. My heart raced. Each beat echoed the urgency of the situation. "Mom." My son's voice cracked through the chaos, pulling me back. I felt him tugging at my sleeve, his fear palpable, unrestrained. He stared back at the swirling dark with wide, terrified eyes. I couldn't let him go. "Stay close," I shouted, forcing reassurance into my voice, though despair clawed at my throat. The shadows distorted further, twisting into nightmarish forms, shadowy hands reaching, grasping, impossibly hungry. What were they? Were they reflections of my own fears, or were they trying to shatter our bond? I had always known there were demons lurking within me, but now they were stepping into the light. Come on. I pressed, grabbing my son's hand tighter as I faced the oncoming darkness. Together. With our hearts racing in sync, we took a step forward. But the moment felt fragile, and I feared it might shatter like glass. I could feel the heaviness of the air, the tangible weight of memories past bearing down on us. Would my strength to protect him be enough? A piercing howl erupted from the growing mass of shadows. The storm above mirrored the roar beneath us, intertwining like creatures in a dance of chaos. I felt a chill creep down my spine, pooling dread in my stomach as the shadows shifted, revealing a figure at their center. It was the stranger, but now he was intertwined with dark wisps, a grotesque representation of fear made flesh. You struggle for your love, he said, his voice slithering through the chaos. But love demands a price. What will you pay, mother? I clenched my fists, determination surging through my veins. Not my son. I held, my voice rising above the storm. Your hearts are tender, he mocked, his eyes glinting like shards of glass. Tender souls break easily. What will you sacrifice when the moment of truth arrives? The shadows surged forward, their icy tendrils wrapping around us. I could feel despair leaching into my bones, wishing for a chink in my armor, a hidden fear I hadn't faced. But I couldn't let this darkness win, it would feed on my anguish. Look at me. I yelled at my son, forcing his gaze from the encroaching dark onto my unwavering eyes. Nothing can take us apart. Your heart is more powerful than any shadow. He nodded hesitantly, but doubt flickered across his face. But what if I fail, Mom? What if I can't be strong enough? No. I caught his chin, forcing him to meet my steely gaze. You are stronger than you know. Together, we can shatter this darkness. With that, I drew all of my love, my fears, and every tear I had ever cried into one powerful surge. You will never break our bond. I cried out, the words pouring from me with the strength of a raging river. The shadows hesitated, recoiling as the warmth from our connection illuminated the encroaching darkness. But I sensed an unsettling truth buried deep. What if this wasn't just about us fighting against the shadows? What if facing our fears would reveal the ultimate sacrifice? Mom. My son shouted, pulling me back as his small form twisted in fear. The shadows are changing. A black wave crashed just inches from us, sending a violent shiver through my soul. Figures began to emerge from the shadows, flickering like errant flames. Could they be figures from my past? The realization brought an agonizing tightness to my chest. Each face, each emotion that passed I thought I had buried was unraveling right before my eyes. As I braced against the chaos, the tempest around us seemed to still. I could feel a revelation brewing, one that could fracture everything I thought I knew. Could we survive this truth, or would it tear us apart? And then, at the eye of the storm, I caught a glimpse of something shocking. A truth so profound it might just cost us everything. Would I be able to face it head-on, or would the revelation swallow us whole? The shadows writhed around us, contorting into memories long buried. Faces blinked in and out, their eyes pleading and judgmental. Each visage pulled at my heart, each one triggering a flood of emotions I thought I had conquered. I felt my son's trembling hand clench tighter in mine, but I couldn't let this swirl of fear drag us down. Face them. I shouted, forcing my voice above the storm. They can't hurt you unless you allow them. With every ounce of strength, I focused on the warmth of our bond, igniting the fire of love that had survived through countless storms. I hadn't just fought for his safety, I had fought for the strength inherent in our connection. I turned to him, grounding him with my gaze, willing him to trust in our united front. Together. I urged, watching as his youthful bravado flickered back into existence, tiny, but fierce. Keep looking at me. The knot constricting my chest began to loosen as I felt his courage swell alongside my own. We stood against the nightmarish figures that shrieked, urged us to submit, to falter. What's the price of your love? The stranger, now an embodiment of the shadows, recoiled as we pushed forward. Not my son, I shouted again, fire roaring in my veins as I faced him down. Our love transcends whatever dark price you think you have. Nothing can take us apart. With every word, our connection radiated a warmth that pushed back against the coldness earning its way into my heart. The shadows shrieked louder, twisted even more grotesquely, the memory figures merging into an overwhelming wave. Suddenly, they swirled closer, trying to engulf us completely, but as they coiled tighter, darkness shrieked against our unyielding resolve. "You can't defeat us." The specter of the stranger spat, his face a twisted snarl. "We're your fears, your regrets. What will you give up to be free?" "I give up giving in." My voice was strong now, rock solid against the torrent of chaos. "I won't let you define our choices." In that moment, something inside my son shifted. A fire ignited in his eyes as he shouted, "You're wrong. We are more than our fears." With newfound resolve, he lifted his chin, defiance igniting every corner of his youthful spirit. As our voices intertwined, I felt the shadows pull back, visibly shaken. The echoes of our love began to resonate, a vibration capable of unraveling the fabric of darkness itself. The shadows hesitated. "Stand strong. Believe in our bond," I yelled, that light shining from us like a beacon. In a flash, the dark figures shrank back, disoriented by the warmth we exuded, a living testament to our choice to fight against despair. A crack of thunder rumbled, echoing our courage, and for a heartbeat, the storm paused. "It's not how much you've sacrificed, but how deeply you love," I bellowed, feeling the shadows retreat. As if in response, the very air around us shimmered. The last remnants of the storm began to fade, silent tears from the sky washing over us in a cleansing embrace. The stranger's face shifted from rage to disbelief. "This isn't over," he threatened, but even his own voice trembled as the shadows fell into irrelevance. "You'll regret your choice." With a deep breath, I pulled my son closer, between the fading shadows and the remnants of the storm. "We'll face whatever comes next together," I promised, the sentence vibrating with the power of our connection. "We're stronger than any darkness we face." The storm began to lift, and almost as if enchanted, the remnants of chaos shimmered and dissipated before our eyes. As we stood there, me holding my son close, the crowd's whispers faded. The facade of fog and disturbance peeled away, revealing an undeniable peace. Perhaps what we battled was not just the shadowy figure but the weight of impossible decisions masking our true path. "Mom," my son whispered, looking up at me with sparkling eyes filled with hope. "Did we win?" "We chose love," I replied firmly, feeling a deep wave of relief. "And that's how you always win." An image of the gleaming BMW caught my eye in the driveway. No longer an emblem of pride, it stood as a reminder. No matter the storms, we'll find our way back every time. Hand in hand, we stepped away from the remnants of what almost pulled us apart, deciding that whatever we faced next, we wouldn't face it alone. The sun began to break through the clouds, illuminating us as we turned our backs on the chaos and looked ahead ready to begin anew. But before wrapping this chapter, I need you to realize something essential. For every journey shared, for every adventure we embark upon, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm so these incredible stories keep coming. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your engagement is what fuels this channel, so step up and support the narrative you love. Let us keep the stories alive.